I would turn down the volume and your headphones before you put them on.
Okay.
Hey, listeners, this is Ray Bethany here at KABF. We are a non-commercial, listener-supported radio station. We are able to stay on the air and offer unique programming because listeners are ideas. Every month to support us. This is the month to become.
You know what? I've never used them in here. I just use them just for my phone. So it's going to be interesting.
You're going to hear the blood flow into your eardrums.
Okay.
Have a great day. I hope you get everything worked out.
All right,
To the parts.
And Southeast Arkansas, call us at 870-536-6300. Already the part and all housing work has begun. To get employment, call 501-376-7151. If you live in Central Arkansas, or Pine Bluff, or Southeast Arkansas, call 870-536-6300.
This is a public service announcement test from Take Me Fishing to determine if you need a fishing license and boat registration before heading out on the water. Let's begin. Are you a bear? Do you have a beak? Does your name rhyme with bald beagle? Do you duck in front of cars? Here's a tough one. Do you have plumage? Do you rub your body against things to mark them? Do you have webbed feet? No, I mean like a... Were you hatched? Do you have fur? I'm not talking back hair. Does your boat fly south for the winter with the other boats? Regardless of how you answer, you need to be licensed and registered because it helps local conservation efforts protect the very natural resources you enjoy boating and fishing in for generations to come. Do your part at takemefishing.org.
Students and professors at the University of Arkansas in Little Rock are studying farmers' reactions to drought conditions. The university received a national grant to study how farmers' risk preferences impact water use during droughts. Professor Kent Kovac says they want to determine if farmers will take a more conservative approach or be influenced by economic factors.
You can have a string of generally very dry years, or you could have a string of very wet years. And how they respond depends upon what their preference is for taking risks in their farming business.
The 3-year study will determine if risk preferences change with drought conditions and climate change. Farmers in rural Arkansas, the lower Mississippi River Basin, Louisiana, and part of Missouri are included in the research. As part of the study, farmers are surveyed and their risk preferences entered into economic and hydrological models. If the models show the water supply is declining quickly, policy changes could be suggested. Kovac says the findings will be shared with policymakers.
We have 3 meetings with stakeholders, so this will be groups in government, farmers as well, but the focus will be everyone that stands to be affected through water use in this region and agriculture related to crop production.
Agriculture is one of the largest consumers of water, and droughts can severely impact crop production. I'm Frida Ross, Arkansas News Service. Find our trust indicators at publicnewsservice.org.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, it's a beautiful Thursday morning here on the corner of 21st and Main Street. KABF 88.3, Voice of the People Community Radio. Hey, it's a little after 9 o'clock. You heard the music, so you know what time it is. It's time for the workplace here exclusively on KABF 88.3. I hope everybody's having a great morning so far. I hope you're having a great week so far. Looking forward to having a great discussion this morning about things in the workplace. And I'm your host for the workplace, Toney Orr. And it's always good to have my fierce, vibrant co-host in the studio today, the Reverend Dr.
You can call me Denise. Yeah. Good morning, Grand Rising humans.
Okay. Got some announcements I want to get out the way first. And do you have some announcements first?
I do have one announcement, but I'm still trying to find the address. So can I go after you?
Yes, okay. Free CD giveaway at KABF 88.3 FM. Attention music lovers, we are clearing out our collection and giving away free CDs in a variety of genres, including jazz, country, rock, world, movie soundtracks, compilations, and more. Find your next favorite album and build your music collection. CDs are available for pickup Monday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Location 2101 South Main Street in Little Rock, Arkansas. Spread the word and stop by to grab some treasures while supplies last. It's first come, first serve, so don't miss out. And thank you for your support and donate to KABF.org. And just a reminder, you can take as many CDs as you want. You can take, if you want to take 3 or 4 boxes, we have no problem with that. And so the Arkansas State Claims Commission will hold hearings on April 3rd and 4th, 2025, beginning at 9 a.m. each day. The commission will also hold a special hearing on April 2nd, 2025. All April hearings will be conducted via Zoom. To obtain the Zoom invitation any of the hearing days, please contact Sabrina Height at 501-682-1619. If there are questions, please contact the Commission office at 501-682-1619. Arkansas Community Advocates Food Distribution, Thursdays at 9:15 a.m. in the lecture hall at the Laban Library, 2801 Orange Street in North Little Rock, 72214. Also, serving our neighbors, breakfast on Broadway, and this is sponsored by the Magnolia Skillet, a taste of Mississippi, at 613 East Broadway Street, North Little Rock, Arkansas, 72214, every Saturday at 10 a.m. That's the Magnolia Skillet, breakfast on Broadway, every Saturday at 10 a.m. And that address, once again, is 613 East Broadway in North Little Rock, Arkansas. Attention, our best customers, protect your debit card like never before with our best fraud alerts. Here's how it works. If suspicious activity is detected, our best sends you a text alert. Reply yes to confirm the transaction or no if it's fraudulent. It's fast, easy, and keeps your credits, your card safe. Learn more about this powerful protection at rbest.com/fraud-alerts. That's rbest.com/fraud-alerts. RBest Fraud Alerts, keeping you one step ahead of fraud. Arkansas Community Advocates and Soupstone Collective. Food is a human right. Arkansas Community Advocates and Soupstone Collective sees the need for our community to come together with the current cluster food programs across the country. We need your help more than ever with shelf-stable items. These collected items will be redistributed once a week. Visit us online to learn more. And you can drop off some of the people who are contributing our Green Thumb produce, which is out of Conway, Arkansas. Farm stand at Bale Urban Farms. That's also in Conway, Arkansas, and Faulkner County Library. So those are our announcements for today.
Okay, so I also have an announcement. The sanctuary is open right now for community events. It will be open until May 1st. So if you know someone who lives in Petaway, or if you live in Petaway, you have access to that space for only a cleaning fee of $50. And so if you need an event, I am a Petaway resident. I will make sure that you get in, and all you have to pay is the $50 for the cleaning fee, so that you can host your community events there. Not just your community events, any kind of event. It could be your birthday party. It could be y'all just want to hang out. It can be whatever you want to do. That space is available again until May 1st. And the address is 520 East 16th Street. If you want to go by and see it, 520 East 16th Street. You can't go in, but you can look at it from the outside. 72202. Call me and let me know if you want me to help you get in to the sanctuary. The number is 228-236-7440.
Okay, thank you, Denise. Also, phone lines are open 501-433-0088. That's 501-433-0088. What I want to talk about this morning, for those who have been keeping up with the news over the past couple of months, since the new administration has taken office in DC, there have been a lot of cuts, especially when it comes to federal employees. Those cuts are not just only happening on the federal level, they're also happening in the state level. The state of Arkansas has also implemented a plan going all the way back to Governor Hutchinson, where to shrink the state workforce. And now that we have this new administration in DC, it is this idea that if you shrink the federal government, it's going to save money, it's going to make it more efficient, and different things like that. And so there's all these different cuts going on. You have all these different employees. So there's been a lot of lawsuits filed by labor unions, by the American Civil Liberties Union, saying that it is unlawful for these employees to be fired or laid off, or however, based on a political agenda. And so what I want to talk about this morning is that, number one, do you agree? How do you feel? Do you agree that by cutting the federal workforce, it's going to save money? Which I think, of course, there's money going to be saved because you don't have to play you won't have to pay these employees. But will the government be more efficient? I know some people look at it like, well, there's a lot of waste in government, which I agree. Anytime you start talking about trillions and trillions of dollars that being generated or being brought into any entity, there is going to be there's going to be a potential for waste. There's going to be a potential for fraud. There's going to be a potential for corruption. All you have to do is look back to when they did the pandemic relief money for Americans and businesses. They're still coming up. They're still finding businesses and individuals who defrauded the program to illegally receive money from these programs. So we know there is waste and we know there is fraud, but in trying to get rid of employees to save money, does it make the government or the state more efficient, that services will be better? Also, when you want to talk about, do you think that being these employees, do you think, what do you think about the effect on them? What do you think? Because now they will talk about how the jobless rate and how the unemployment rate has skyrocketed in certain areas, especially around the DC area, especially on the East Coast. We have a lot of federal agencies that have, laid off, fired, terminated, however you want to say it, thousands and thousands of workers. And the job market for a lot of these employees is really not there. And so now these employees who worked for the government to help ensure that certain programs will get out to people now are facing the task of looking for those programs or looking for that assistance. But because the work sites have been downsized, there's not enough people there. People are complaining about the IRS, that it laid off 12% of the staff. So, which we know is going to affect people getting their taxes done, but more importantly, it's going to affect people who are illegally using the system. There's no inspectors to check it out. Social Security the Social Security Administration has now laid off 10% of its workforce, which they're getting ready to close Social Security offices around the country. And they're trying to come up with this idea that you can apply for Social Security online or by the phone to make it more efficient. And so, once again, the question is: do you think by doing all this, it's going to make it more efficient? Do you think? What do you think about these employees who are being terminated? Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's right? And do you think that anything is going to change when it comes to how the government is operated after all this? And I also want you to remember that what's going on when they talk about fraud, waste, or whatever, it's not just something that has just came to light in this administration. All administrations, whether it's Republican, whether it's Democrat, they all had opportunities to try to shore up the federal government to make it more efficient, but they haven't. And now that is happening, it is creating a big problem with so many people, with so many employees, with so many communities.
Okay, so Lo is responding to you. Nope. Because of those extrinsic services, there will be no persons there to fulfill those requests, causing a backlog, thereby increasing expenses and eradicating any savings accumulated.
Yeah, and there's so many moving parts to this, and so many questions to be asked that really nobody's really giving any legit answers to these questions. And it's almost like somebody, I heard this term used a couple of days ago on a Zoom call, where it says that we're building the airplane as we're flying. And that's what the person said. And so it's almost like every day all this is happening on the fly. But the problem is you're talking about the lives of thousands and thousands of people. Call you on there.
Yes, good morning.
Can you turn your phone down? Can you turn your radio down, please?
Yeah, I turn it down. I don't think the government is going to get no more efficient. It ain't never been efficient for the poor folks or working folks. And it bothers the money. It's been known for years that thousands, trillions of dollars is coming up just every year that no one seems to know what happens to it. So it ain't nothing but some stealing and corrupt going on that level. Now, further, the government people that lose their jobs, I went to the place, signed it up. Some of those people treat you just like you ain't even human. They disrespect you like, you haven't worked or anything. And we got millions of people out on the street, they ain't got no house, but when it hit them, all of a sudden it's a big deal. They don't think about the poor folks and things like that. Oh, I got a government job. I ain't got to worry about nothing. That's their attitude, So I'm not really all that been out of shape about that. Because government is corrupt, everybody knows it's corrupt, and they don't want to straighten it out. That's the bottom line.
Okay, thank you, sir. And I can get with that. I understand, but also I understand it like this. So let's say people who work for Kroger. Yes, there are rude cashiers. There are rude people who work for Kroger. But let's say Kroger decided that, hey, we're going to lay off their workforce. We're going to lay off 10,000 people, and we're going to close Kroger stores. And you can look at the Kroger store they closed on Colonel Glenn. So and they did it in the name of downsizing. So those people who got fired or who got laid off or who had to go and find another job, what about them? What about now they don't have assistance? They don't have a job. And like I said, I understand both sides. I understand that, as residents and citizens, we want better service. We want efficient service. We want to be treated in a humane way. We want to be treated with respect. We want this. When we go to these places for service, because that's all it really is customer service. We want these things in place. But does it still, or do we still look at it as like, well, I don't care. I wasn't getting good service anyway, so I don't care if they close it down. But that's where the human factor comes in, is that are you upset because of the service, or are you reasoning because the service is bad and should be shut down?
I'm not sure that's what the caller is saying. At least that's not what I heard. I don't feel at all that he's saying he doesn't care about people losing their jobs and these jobs. Yeah, I didn't hear that. What I heard is that the government is corrupt. It has always been corrupt. So for us now to be questioning the corruptness of the government by laying off all of these people, it's like, what are we complaining about? This is what they've always done. This is probably what they're going to continue to do. So probably we should be using our efforts to figure something else out, because we shouldn't be relying on the government anyway, because they continue to prove themselves to be not for the people. And they continue to prove themselves to be anti-Black. So any of us who are expecting the government to do something for us or to have our best interests in heart, then we're delusional.
Yeah, I can, like I said, I can get with that. But to me, the question is, yes, we know all this about the government, and in fact, anything that's set up where money is involved, and that it has the potential to be corrupt. It has the potential to disenfranchise human beings, period. It has that potential. But in the end, to see people who are a part of the corruption, they may work there, but are they a part of the corruption? Are they the ones who are behind the closed doors? Are they the ones who are in these committees that are deciding where this money goes? Who are deciding who's going to take this money? So yes, I do understand that the corruption is there, but the corruption, a lot of it is being decided on a level that does not. If you think that a caseworker at the Social Security Department who has lost their job had any say-so in the corruption that was going on, I mean, that's not correct. But because of the corruption that people now want to do something about, they suffer.
But that caseworker should understand by signing on to this job that you now work for the government. So the government is the one who controls whether or not you have a job. And we live in a state that is what do you call it? They can fire you for any cause. And so for that caseworker to be like, oh, because I work for the government, I don't expect them to do me like this. Again, that's faulty thinking. If you sign up to work for the government, you say, I understand that it is possible that I will get fired for no other reason than because they're being corrupt. Not me being corrupt, but they're being corrupt. That's part of the understanding of what comes along with your job. Let me get in what Deidre says. 99% of the people that are in upper management in government concentrate on making the program compliant. 1% of the people in upper management concentrate on the needs of the people they serve. The 1%ers are the only ones that can make the program efficient. The problem is no one listens to the 1%.
Call you on there.
Says good morning, peace and love to all. Brother Solar being here. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Usually people say hello. Okay. Now, where we are now is in the eyes, and we always say the eyes have it, so is the order. The eyes is the inquiry, the investigation, and the indictment period. Now, right now they are investigating all the corruption that's been going on. And I'm wondering and waiting for some of these people to come up with indictments. I was really surprised when they said one of the sisters, and I won't call her name, they say she had $100 in one account, and when they got ready to leave, the Biden administration, some kind of way, channeled over $2 billion to an account. Now, with all this kind of juggling, we talk about the hacks and the whacks. Now, we know who the whacks are now. They're whacking all this corruption that was going on with the hacks. Now, like I say, back to inquiry, investigation, and indictment. Well, I tell you what, let me skip over to what I wanted to say when I first called in, and that was about the system of white supremacy or racism. Their biggest deal is always be ready to move around. They want you not settle, the masses of the people. They want you ready with everything packed and ready to roll. In other words, don't get settled in too long nowhere. Whether you're at Kroger's or Target or wherever you are, that's one of their greatest strategies. Move around. When we had our 9th Street area, they came through with the highway. It was time for us to move around. Whether you're in the projects, they want you to move around. Now, moving around is just moving around. Don't get settled in. You think you on your high horse? What they do? Come to the office. Next thing you know, when they call you to the office, well, we got to lay you off. And that's what's going on now. They having their biggest, come to the office. It's time for the layoff. But right, like I say, we have to remember, they're into the inquiry. I mean, everybody's really trying to avoid making accusations, either directly or indirectly, about the inquiries. But the biggest part now is the investigations. Now, when these indictments come up and all these people are having the fingers pointed and tossing the ball, no, I didn't do this, I did this, he did that, I did this, all this kind of stuff. Now, I'm pretty sure and wondering, are they going to have to try to build some jails for them? Because there's going to be a lot of white collar crime. And when it comes to the billions and millions of dollars, these are white collar crimes. And whether they're going to treat the white collar crimes like they do the marijuana, like they do the dope dealers and all these petty crimes, but they're getting away with millions. Well, back to the eyes. Inquiry, investigation, and indictment. The eyes have it, so is the order. Let's see how it plays out. Again, peace and love to all.
So Lo is responding to Solar Beam here. They are not investigating anything. They are padding their pockets and their friends' pockets. The corruption continues because no one has been arrested, no one has been convicted, because the current cronies are protecting their butts and the butts of their friends.
Yeah, and so and that goes back to what I'm talking about. is that this is just propaganda. It's a propaganda thing. Because if you own the propaganda machine, if you control the propaganda machine, whether it's the media, whether it's social platforms, if you silence everything to where the only point of view that you want people to hear is your point of view. So when they start talking about corruption, and like I said, it's not something, because I think they're framing it sometimes as this last administration, they had all this corruption, they had all this government waste, but it's been that way. Been that way since the government was established. You had people at the top who took advantage, who had the power to take advantage of what was going on, and the people who are suffering from when they decide to change the power struggle, when they decide to change things, are the people who are just doing their jobs or who are just going to work. And so you're going to get rid of them to keep padding your pocket. When they were talking about the Social Security Administration, and they came, did a press conference and said, hey, there is 200 people who are 150 or 200 years old. Said somebody who was 200 years old receiving a Social Security check, or somebody who was, they had people 150 years old receiving Social Security check. Now, them saying it because they are the power structure, you have people who like, oh my God, oh, that's crazy. Yes, that's fraud, that's waste. So yes, you need to get rid of, you need to get rid of this fraud, this waste. But what they don't tell you, or what people don't hear, is that when they investigated it and they found out, no, nobody 150 years old is receiving a Social Security check. Nobody 200 years old. That's preposterous. But in order to justify what they're going to do, the sacrificial lambs are going to be those employees. Now, like I said, my issue is that if you want to lay off a workforce, fine, that's your right. But do it in a way that that addresses where the issues are. And the issues are not in the front line workers. The issue becomes, as people have said, it's in management and it's at the top. If you're going to do it that way. And I think, because, Lo just said it, the people at the top are there to protect their butts and protect the interests of who they feel are the ones that they need to look out for. And the people who suffer are the ones at the bottom. Carla, you on there? Okay, Carla, you can call back. Sorry, I missed your call.
So I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding. So is your question like, do we agree with what the government is doing? Is your question, are you asking us, did we expect Donald Trump's administration to do things differently? Are you asking us, are we surprised that, like, what are we saying?
I'm not saying that should we be surprised, did we not expect him to do, because he did what he's doing what he said he's going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
My question, going back to what I in the beginning, is this something that we agree? Do we agree that all these workers should be laid off? Do we or do we think that the government is going to be more efficient because all these people are being laid off? And do we feel that it should have been done in a different way?
Well, since we have acknowledged that the Trump administration clearly outlined what they were going to do before they were elected, and the people, according to how the Electoral College works, the people voted for him, then I would posit that yes, we agree with it, because you knew what he was going to do. You voted for him anyway. Now he's here, and you want to ask the question now? Too late.
Carla, you on there?
Hello. I agree that the problem is is more with the management and people taking, in power, taking advantage. And one of the craziest things about all this that's being done, the return to work mandate, part of the federal government trying to become more efficient is what closed the various offices and put workforce remote. That was to decrease the cost of running the federal government. And there were so many people that didn't even have a work building place to go back to because they were hired to do their jobs remotely. And so by creating that mandate, what you've done is you have also created a demand for work office spaces that didn't exist and the cost to operate and run those. And and who's going to get those contracts and who's going to own those buildings? But the government, the people in charge is buddies. And it's, I don't think that they're going about this the right way. I think just pinning people to keeping them is not creating efficiency. And they really need to get a handle on what they're doing. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Carlos.
So Lo has a question. Since many judges have declared the Trump actions are unconstitutional, why haven't those masses of employees been returned to work?
A lot of them have. A lot of them have been returned to work. They reinstated a lot of the workers for the national parks. They reinstated those nuclear regulatory workers. They reinstated some of the workforce for USAID. They reinstated some of the workforce for the Department of Justice. Yes, they have reinstated those workers based on these injunctions by these judges. What's going to be interesting is, of course, the Trump administration has appealed all these things. What's going to happen is that within a few months, the Supreme Court is going to be hit with so many cases that they're going to have to vote on. They're going to have to resolve. One of them is going to be, does the Trump administration have the right to just lay off these workers? Does the Trump administration has the right to deportation? All these different things is going to end up there. The biggest issue that nobody is looking at, and here's where the real corruption and fraud, the real corruption, waste, and fraud lies, and it lies in the halls of Congress. Congress is the branch of government that decides about the layoffs. They're the ones that supposed to say, okay, we're gonna lay off this many people from this agency because they handle the money. They, as they said, they control the purse, the pocket of the purse. They have the right. They're the ones that's supposed to decide for these agencies. They're the ones that's supposed to decide all these different things. But because they have been inactive, and one of the reasons they've been inactive, and that's where authoritarian dictatorship starts to take place, because you're afraid to speak up against what you know is injustice or what you know is not right. And because you won't speak up for it, now you have this chaos, because the administration, the Trump administration already knows this is not something we're supposed to do, but we're gonna do it anyway, and we're gonna see how much we can get away with. That's why you notice they had to backtrack on a lot of these layoffs and get these people back. Another thing that I never thought about is what the last caller just said, and it makes sense. Now I can see another piece of the puzzle. When they created the mandate, and I think this happened even here in the state of Arkansas, where they said, okay, you can work remotely. The two things that working remotely created was, one, most employees became more efficient. Research shows that they were more productive, they were able to handle better cases, they were able to do more being at home than they were in the office. And the reason why, you didn't have to deal with a racist, discriminated manager. You didn't have to deal with a toxic workplace. You didn't have to worry about it. Hey, am I gonna have time to go pick up my kids and different things? You didn't have to worry about that. You were able to do your work, and you do it in a less stressful atmosphere. The flip side of that is what the caller talked about. Now you end up with a bunch of empty buildings. And so how do you justify those empty buildings? What are you going to do with those empty buildings? And so that's why one of the things that the Trump administration, one of the mandates that he said was that I want everybody to come back into the office. I want everybody to come and work out the office, because that's where we can control you. And I think that's one of the things that's going on, is that he's, if you're working remotely and there's nobody watching you, then we don't know what you're doing, but we can see what you're doing because you're turning in work, but we can't see you. So let's just lay you off. And I think that's one of the issues that's going on. But at the end of the day, these Congress is supposed to make these decisions, but they're not.
Well, here's what Deidre said. She's responding to Lo, but she's also helping me with what I'm about to say too. She said, it ain't no rules, Lo. It ain't no rules. And so when you say what Congress is supposed to do, one of the things that Donald Trump also ran on, Deidre said, stay on the plantation. When you talked about they want you at the job so they can see you stay on the plantation.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Deidre.
And so one of the things that the Trump administration campaigned on and won with is this notion of, I don't care nothing about the rules. I'm going to be the rule maker. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. We've got a plan in place. We're going to execute our plan. It does not matter what Congress says. It does not matter what the courts say. It does not matter. And so to me, I don't think he cares about the end game. He cares about showing you the force with which he said he was going to come into office, so that you can say he did what he said he was going to do, build trust in you, because you say, oh, he said he was going to do it and he did it. We can trust him. And so he doesn't care how it ends. What he cares about is proving that if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So I don't feel like Congress has much power at all to stand up against him.
And I agree with you. I was reading an article this morning about, it was talking about the steps of a dictator, and talking about how dictators start taking these steps to be in power and control. And one of the things that was said is that Donald Trump, going back to what you said, he outlined, he told you what he was going to do and what his administration was going to do. The issue becomes, there are some people, and I think this includes, I don't want to speak for you, but I think this includes you and me and a lot of other people. We believed it. Oh yeah, this is what he's going to do. This is what he's going to do. There were a lot of people, especially a lot of people who voted or didn't vote, who said he's just talking. As they say, he's talking out the side of his neck. He's talking noise. He just exaggerated. He ain't gonna do that because they're not gonna let him do it. That's what they're thinking. And going back to what we're talking about with Congress, that they're not gonna let him do it. They never let anybody else do it. So why would they let him do it? But when you are put into a position where everybody that controls power, you look at the media, you look at ABC paid him off for some frivolous defamation thing. NBC paid up. CNN paid up. So now you control the media. And when Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook went to the White House, it reminded me of, if you ever watched The Godfather, when Michael Corleone had got rid of all his enemies, and he's sitting in his house, and all these people are coming to the house, and they're kissing the ring. All these people started lining up. Once he won, they started lining up at Lamargo, to see him. They started lining up at the White House to, like, okay, you won. Let me back down. Let me shut up. Let me do this. And so you have the people around him who have the power to do something that are enabling him to do what he said he was going to do. And then you have Congress who is doing it. But going back to what we just said, when you get rid of the rules, it's a free-for-all. And so you're right. He doesn't care about the rules. And Congress evidently doesn't care about the rules. And so that's where you end up with the suffering of people. That's why you end up with the injustice of people. That's why you end up with all this going on that in the end is not going to benefit the people who needed the service the most.
So here's what Lowe says, St. Augustine's famous statement, an unjust law is no law at all, meaning we have to build a system of justice that leaves no one behind.
And that becomes the question. That becomes the real question. How do you build a system of justice? What does it look like? And who's going to create it?
So here's my brother, Dr. Derek Darnell.
What's up?
He said, let's cut through the chase and talk about how our people voted for him. Talking about members of the African diaspora, Black folks, African Americans. One of the issues was all about a woman, especially a woman of color. Can you help me understand that position?
Oh, I can't.
Yes, you can. You've been in circles where that's exactly what they told you that they couldn't vote because she was a woman. I know you were in those circles.
No. I'm not saying I don't understand. Let me say it this way. When he asks, help me to understand, so that she's a woman, I can understand that. Okay, you don't want to vote for her, because she's a woman. What I don't understand is, because you don't want to vote for her because she's a Black woman, then you rather vote for somebody who's going to keep oppressing.
Yeah. That's what they did. That's what my brother's saying. Yeah. Help me understand that position. And why would you do that? And it's because you are rooted in patriarchy and sexism. Our people, just as much as they say the man is, and that's something that we have to deal with. And we won't acknowledge that, especially Black men don't want to acknowledge their complicity in patriarchy and sexism.
And I agree with you. And that's that's where, when I ask the question about justice, when equality, when all this, how do you root out these things? Because it's mind-boggling sometimes.
I don't think it's mind-boggling at all. Let me get this. To my brother's question, Lowe says it was against Kamala Harris, and my brother was like, "Hello," and then Lowe says it's the plantation mentality. I don't think it's mind-boggling at all. I remember, so my daddy, I talk about my daddy sometimes in terms of being violent in the home. What I don't talk about a lot of times is the mannerism, the mechanism that he used to exert control over our family. And one of the mechanisms that he used was money. And so he would buy us cars, he would do these things, all of these things. And then if you decided to make a decision that went against what he wanted you to do, then he will call back his stuff. That ain't your car. Give me my car back. I want all this. And so my brother sat me down one day and he said these words. This very brother that's on here right now, the eldest son, the eldest child in my family, he said to me, he said, if you want to be free, don't take another dime from him. If you want to be free, don't take another dime. I've been free ever since that day because I have not taken a dime. So if we want to know why people, the reason we can't get a world that's just is because we are so wrapped up and tangled up and tied up in money and power and things, and we cannot focus on freedom because that's what we're more concerned about. I want a house, I want a car, I want 6 figures, I want. And so then you can't be free like that unless you are ready to look at the system and say, I don't want anything that you are offering. Then you can't be free. It ain't hard, just do it.
Yeah. And I think that becomes one of the issues going back to what I said is that this system of justice, this system of equality, how it's going to be created, how it's going to be, how it's going to function. And part of it is that you have to take your mind off of materialistic things and start looking at humanity things. And I think that's, you hear me say this a lot. I believe in humanity. That's what I look at, is humanity. And how do we get humanity to look at humanity? And that's a difficult thing for a lot of people, to look at someone and look at them in a humanistic way, to see that whatever your need is, I need to help you. Whatever your circumstance, how do I help you? Because in the process of helping you, I also help myself. And that's so difficult for a lot of people when they can't get past the sexism, the racism, the capitalism, the patriarchy. When you can't get past that, when that becomes such a focal point of your life that you can't see anything else beyond that, then that's where it really becomes problematic in trying to create this system of justice, equality, and humanism. Call you on there.
Yes, very quickly, I want to say it's still shadow government. It wasn't about Kamala and it wasn't about Donald Trump. It was about supporting incorrect government, which includes administrative subversion. Now, when I say administrative subversion, you got the brutality, you got the dislocation, like I was talking about, espionage, gerrymandering, harassment, intimidation, royalism, sabotage, slavery, terrorism, waste, fraud, deception, theft. Any way they can support and correctly apply in a sophisticated way the mistreatment of people, they will do. Now, it didn't have nothing to do with Kamala, and really ain't got nothing to do with Donald Trump. It's what they call the shadow government that have all these supports of incorrect government. Again, I said I would be quick. Peace and love to all.
So when you say, Toney, that you're all about humanity, and you said it's about looking at people through the humanistic lens, and then you said when you defined it in that way, for me, there's a major flaw in your design. Because if you're saying that it's about humanity, if that means that I got to look at you and see what you need and then say, I want to supply your need, then I feel like something is wrong with that. Because if you were seeing me as a human, you would be working to make sure that there wouldn't be any needs. Like I wouldn't have anything for you to fix. I wouldn't have anything for you to come save me from. I wouldn't have anything for you to give me. I wouldn't be dependent on you for anything, because that's not what it means to be human. I don't have to. That's a system that you've created that causes me to have to come to you and say, please, please, please see me as a human. But if you really saw me as a human, we would not be living in a system that creates needs in the first place.
And so,
hold on just a minute. So Deidre says, we are immersed in the fall of the USA empire do not be surprised in its death throes.
And when I said what I said, and I agree with you. I don't disagree with that. Because if you did see me as human, then, like you said, I wouldn't have to come to you for the need, because you can see the need. You see me as human and you see the need. That's what I'm saying, is that if we live in a society that is humanistically based, then I'm already supplying what you need. There's already things, I don't have to, I don't have to walk down the street and say, oh, that person needs this, that person needs that, because you have created a system where the need is already taken care of, where the things are in place that will fulfill you living to the fullest of your life. Your health care is there. Whatever health care that needs is already there. All these things are being taken care of. And that's what, to me, a society or a world that looks at people in this humanistic way, that I know you need these needs and they're going to be provided for you. I think one of the things, and going back to what Solovey just said, I don't want to say it was behind some shadow government. It was about Kamala Harris. It was about Donald Trump, because this country was founded on this one thing that we see playing back out, that has played out throughout the history of this place, this United States. It was founded by white, powerful men. And white, powerful men want to keep all the control and the power in their hands.
Yeah, it was controlled by white men who defined themselves as powerful. The white men were not powerful. They defined power, then said, oh, that's me. And so that's what they do, and that's what they continue to do. They define this world by using whatever they want it to be. And then because they have the power of the pen, they create themselves. So they created themselves as powerful. They were not powerful at all. So Deidre asked the question, Toney, where do they do that at? Humanistic and capitalistic don't go together.
And that's the problem. That's the problem. It doesn't. But if we're talking about if we're going to create a more just and equal society, it has to be based on human. It has to be based on humanistic. It has to be based on me seeing you. I see you, and I see the whole of you, and I want to be there for the whole of you, just like you want to be there for the whole of me, which means that we have to create a system, or we have to create something that looks at the whole of humanity. I'm not saying that happens. I'm not saying that's happening anywhere in this world. But if you're going to have a just and equal society, that has to be one of the pillars that you build your foundation on. Okay, so it's 10 o'clock, and so I want to thank all you. I want to thank everybody for calling in today. It was a great show. Tune in Monday from 4 to 5 for Down with That, next Tuesday for Community Voices with the Reverend Dr. Denise Donnell and the Pastor Toney Orr, and tune in next Thursday for the Workplace with Toney Orr and Denise.
And one last thing. So Deidre responds to you and says, then all things present must die, Toney. If that's the kind of society we're going to have, then all things present must die.
I can agree with that. All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
You're listening to